Jacksonville sheriff's officers are the city's finest, and Ken Jefferson is likely the busiest. The department's public information officer is the face of the JSO, giving reporters the latest on breaking crimes, informing the public on safety issues, and speaking to children about staying out of trouble.
If we can prevent a crime from happening before it happens, then that's what it's all about. That's what I want to do. That's my intention, and that's my goal.
And no one does it better than Ken. For the second year in a row, Florida's PIO Association is honoring Jefferson with Public Information Officer of the Year.
When my telephone rings at night or early in the morning, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, it not only wakes me up, but it wakes my wife up, it wakes my child up. So I want to dedicate this to my wife for being the beacon of support that she is.
Public Information Officer is just the latest duty in Jefferson's 21-year JSO career.
Of all the things that I've done in law enforcement, I must say that this is my favorite role. I've always wanted to be involved with public information.
And he is everywhere. Maybe you've seen him hosting Signal 94 on your public access channel, or letting you know about wanted fugitives on our news partner Channel 4's Wheel of Justice.
You know, you look at that face, you can tell he's a wanted man.
And you've no doubt heard that familiar voice right here on WOKV.
I am blessed, very blessed, that I have an opportunity while in my career, in the highlight of my career, to live out my dream.
Jared Halpern, AM 690 and 106.5 FM, News Talk Radio, WOKV. Jacksonville sheriff's officers are the city's finest, and Ken Jefferson is likely the busiest. The department's public...
Well, so has our next guest, who is challenging his former boss to be Jacksonville's next sheriff. Ken Jefferson will join us right after this. Jacksonville deserves better. Is the implication Jacksonville deserves better than Sheriff Rutherford?
Well, that's not a slight on anyone. My slogan says Jacksonville deserves better. And that's not to say that the current administration or even the previous administration has done a bad job. We can do better. There's always room for improvement. And that's the essence of my slogan. There's room for improvement. For the last 10 years, we've had the recognition of being known as the murder capital of Florida. We can do better than that. I believe we can do better than that.
Violent crime is down. So why isn't that enough for you to be happy with how the law enforcement is heading in this county?
That's a good point, Shannon. And violent crime is down based on the statistics that is being reported right now. It's down all over the state, but we're still the highest. We're down, but we're still the highest. We can do better than that. I think that we need to implement some programs, some new programs, to be a little more proactive than reactive.
Programs like what?
Well, you know, you got to hit it at the core with the murder rate. I talk to people, citizens all over the city, and I tell them that the index shows that the crimes are down, but they're saying, well, that's not my perception. That's not my perception. So we've got to hit it at the core of the problem. We've got to go back into the communities and interact with the people. We've got to befriend them again. We being the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has to befriend the community again so that we can start getting to the root of the matter.
So do you think the public perception, at least for a lot of the public, is that they're on opposite sides with officers?
There's a great disconnect with the community, between the community and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I hear it every day. There are some folks in certain pockets of our community that feel disenfranchised. They feel that they see the officers riding by back and forth, but they have no relationship with them. They want to work with the police. I really believe they want to help restore their neighborhoods, but they feel this great disconnect.
So I'm very curious. Obviously, I know you, and the public knows you from being the public face of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. So at what point were you on the job in uniform, and you thought, you know, I really could run this department better than the current guy? Well,
I was with the Sheriff's Office for the past 24 years. I retired in October of last year. And it seems like I've been retired longer than that. It's just been since October. And I've been urged to run years ago, but I had no inclination that I would even give it a serious thought. But the last 18 months of my career, I began to give it some serious thought and think about it, and then still being urged by various people, and then being tired of the label. The murder capital. And then I thought about, you know what, 8 years really is enough. If we were to respect term limits and 2 terms for a sheriff in that position really is enough, I made the decision that I would run.
In what areas do you think Sheriff Rutherford's just not getting it done?
I think that the community is not connected the way we need to be with the sheriff's office. I think that we need to be more proactive with certain things when it comes down to your violent crimes, your murders, your rapes, your robberies, and whatever. And it goes back again to interacting with the community, getting the officers out of their cars to interact with them. But not only the officers, I would lead the charge from the front. I would be out in the community, not only walking the beat, I would be riding the beats as well as time permits. I would have a marked police car riding around, interacting with the communities. But not only that, Shannon, I would require that my senior staff do the same thing. Because at the end of the day, no matter how high you go in rank, at the end of the day, you're still a soldier, and you still have to know what got you where you are.
Who hopes to become Jacksonville's next sheriff took his message to the streets where he grew up. Ken Jefferson held a meet and greet at the Washington Heights apartment complex on the north side. There, he knocked on doors and let voters know that he's running to help lower crime in neighborhoods like this one. Ken says that when he was in the 5th grade, he lived in that apartment complex, and it was there when he first knew that he wanted to be a police officer.
We want to reduce crime even more, and we want to reduce the fear of crime. We want people to feel good about their city. We want people to feel good about the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. So we want to bridge that gap.
Ken Jefferson has been a police officer with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office for the past 24 years, but he is retiring to run for sheriff.
He wants to see some changes, and specifically, Ken Jefferson took a trip to Washington Heights, where he grew up. He said he wants to cut down on the violence in that area. Jefferson spent the morning campaigning throughout the neighborhood. So far, 4 people have entered the race for Jacksonville Sheriff. He's the best known of them, I suppose, so far.
Jacksonville's next sheriff is heating up, and our own Mark Spain sat down with one of the men hoping to unseat John Rutherford.
You know his face. For nearly 6 years, Ken Jefferson was front and center at dozens of crime scenes as the spokesperson for JSO. In fact, he did the job so well that he became the first person in history to ever win the Public Information Officer of the Year award in Florida 2 years in a row. He retired last October after 24 years on the force. His goal now?
So I don't look at myself as anything other than I'm a qualified candidate ready to become the next sheriff of Jacksonville.
Jefferson is probably the most recognizable opponent trying to unseat Sheriff John Rutherford.
And 8 years is enough as the sheriff here in Duval County, simply because every other office had term limits. And there was a promise made by one of the opponents that they would not do more than 2 terms.
He's talking about Rutherford, who, unlike other elected officials, can't be forced out by term limits. Reducing crime is Jefferson's top priority.
We've been labeled as the murder capital of the state for the past 11 years. That concerns me. But it not only concerns me, Mark, it concerns the citizens of this city because I'm hearing it every day while I'm talking with them.
Another thing that he says concerns him is the lack of transparency within the department. He'd like to change that.
I'm for openness as far as being transparent with the public, being able to review the process as it's going on, as the officers are being questioned, as the evidence is being presented, as the whole process is going on. I think that they should have an opportunity to be able to sit in and to listen.
If he wins, Ken Jefferson will become Jacksonville's second African-American sheriff. Mark Spain, CBS 47 Action News.
And this is a 4-way race.